All right. Sean, it is part 2 of our top fives series that we're doing here on RV8 Bike Scene. Everyone, thanks for streaming on in, for watching this on the YouTube channel, Ian Stewart Cycles, or if you're not, then go there to watch it because our lovely mugs are all over the place. We can look at how crooked my mustache seems on one side versus the other. If you want to zoom in, that'd be great. Be sure to share and like the show and the podcast and tell all your friends and leave comments and you can tip. We'll tell you how after. Venmo me, Ian-Stewart-82, or buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com, Ian _ Stewart. Anyways, there we'll get those out. So in episode 1 of our top 5 things we talked about, first time, yeah. Two-parter. That's how much we have to talk about.
And first time for top 5s.
Exactly. And we talked about the best bike lanes in both Richmond and Chesterfield. And so now we're continuing on with this kind of Richmond versus Chesterfield because that's where we're at, respectively. And we're going to talk about the top 5 favorite places to ride and pet peeves as well, and worst places to ride. So we're going to go back and forth. So, Sean, I already talked a lot. So you lay out where you like to ride.
All right. Let's see. I'll start with Richmond because that's where I'm based. You know, I spend most of my time riding in Richmond, and
I will say, by the way, I'm going to interject right now. We don't need to put the Capitol Trail because we all know the Capitol Trail is one of the best places to ride, and I don't think that's fair. It's a given.
That is true. That is also my number 1.
But okay. Well,
I'm also tying it in with.
All right. Well, we'll wait till you get there. I didn't mean to disclude it.
That's all right. But Capitol Trail's my number 1. But we'll get to why in a moment.
All right. Spoiler alert.
I had to throw this one in there. My number 5 is the Belle Isle Pump Track and Gillies Creek because you got to get skills somewhere, right? But the reason I put both there together is because they're both the same kind of thing that you can do. But Belle Isle, you have a hard time getting to. Like, say you have a 5-year-old, 3-year-old. If you have to carry their bike all the way across the bridge, so the BMX track is right there. You park, you get out, you're on it. So I really recommend getting down to the BMX track. That's my number 5.
And you do clinics there, by the way, right? Around there?
I do the cyclocross clinics right there. And we ride the BMX track if we can. On cross bikes, it's not great for that, but and we don't race there anymore. We used to have the BMX track as part of our cyclocross course. We don't do that anymore. Some people liked it, some people didn't. It wasn't a feature that made a big difference in any race. So anyway, not using that anymore. But we're getting into best places to ride. Doesn't matter what bike you're on. Go try the BMX track. Go try the skills park. So number 4 mountain bike place is Laris Park, and that is in the city. Had to go look at the map to see which
it is.
That is. It's in the city, just barely, right outside of Bon Air off of Huguenot Road.
Right near Trader Joe's.
Right near Trader Joe's. You can always stop and get your, expensive, gourmet, whatever.
They're not bad.
I know, they're not too bad. But I give them a hard time. I don't know why. Number 3, JRPS in Forest Hill Park. I like to make that big loop. It's about 11 miles after all's said and done. The hard thing there is you got to look at when you're going to go. If it's a Saturday morning and it's really nice outside, there might be a lot of people, and there might be some dogs and bird watchers and hikers and it's a pretty busy place. So picking and choosing when you go is very important. Number 2 is my road ride, which is Riverside Drive. I love Riverside. I love connecting it to Huguenot Bridge over to U of R. And then we'll get into how that ties into the other side of this in a moment.
Well, you could go from there too, by the way. Not everyone, but you may know, you can go to River Road. You can go by Pony Pasture. You can go up to Old Gun. That's kind of connected to one of the things
It's all connected. So the Riverside Drive connects a fair number of things throughout the city. And then that gets to the Capitol Trail and Potterfield Bridge, because that gets you back across the river to get to the Capitol Trail and continue on. So I look at Richmond has a pretty good network of good places to ride, both on the west end and and the east, and then you can kind of branch off to the north depending on where you live. South is a little harder to get around, but they're working on that. So we're getting there. New
All
bike
right.
lanes.
Yeah, it's that's coming on. What kind of, like not Forest Hill, but Jank. Jank is coming too,
Yeah.
which will help me when I want to go to Outpost or to the city. So Laura's Park, I want to mention too, which I hike in. I haven't done in a while, but it's really hilly. Like it's there's a few people. John Burden, our friend John Burden, who co-owns Garnet's and some other great places, who I've interviewed as a cargo bike guide. He does RVA cargo bike. He talks about riding through there on his cargo bike with his son when he would take his son to school on that. And I don't know which part I'm in, because every time I've hiked there, I'm like, ooh, this is really like, phew, up and down.
It's a good skills place. There's a lot of up and down. There's a lot of routes and a few little rock areas. And you can also connect to Cherokee Road somewhere through a tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
you can like kind of do a ride through the city and end up in Laris without ever being on a Huguenot. Which is
Yeah, and you
nice.
could also, there's a trail, like a kind of a multi-path trail, but it kind of stops, but then there's a extra trail that will go into Stony Point if you're hiking. I mean,
Oh,
you can
right.
take your bike there, but because I can't, we talked about this, we can't go on the Powhite to get to Stony Point if we wanted to. Or the Chippenham, I'm sorry, Chippenham. Everyone thinks I live here, I do. I've been here for 20 years, I forget.
You have to
All
have a
right.
map when you're listening to this podcast.
Getting your maps out. Forget MapQuest. Get your old map out. Get your Thomas Guide out. All right. So here's some of my places to ride in Chesterfield County. So for a long ride, I kind of do a zigzag from my house, which I'm near Reams and kind of Courthouse, and I like to weave my way. I don't like getting in my car to drive, so I just want to be able to go. So I have to weave my way from my house and get out to, which I think we talked about this in the first episode, Woolridge and Otterdale. So around Swift Creek Reservoir, where I cross it, go to Woolridge, to Otterdale, and then I could take this farm road called Duval Road to Skin Quarter, to Moseley, and then to Genito. And it's all this great open farmland kind of. It's a place called Mount Herman, to Old Hundred, and to Genito. It's like 60 miles, I could give or take, depending on how long I want to go. There's not too many places to stop and eat, so you got to definitely bring some food. But that's that might be my top. Maybe if I want to do, well, it's not my top, but it's one that I love to do when I want to do a long ride. And I've done shorter versions of this every time I go out that way. I could cut back anywhere I want. I like suburban riding because I like
I used
looking
to
at.
ride there. It's been a long time when I lived in Chesterfield. That was one of the places I used to drive. Can't remember whose house we met at. Somebody's house. We would take off from there, and he was out by Genito, and I can't remember the name of the road. Anyway, out in Mount Herman, Duval, Skin Quarter. All
Yeah,
those
it's
roads are great.
You just got to be, because there's no bike lanes or anything. So if you are riding, you have to be careful and just watch out for traffic. Because while people live there, kind of know about bikes, it's still, I've been Cole Road when I'm on Mount Herman or whatever, and people drive by and yell, and I'm like, just slow down. And anyways, so another one of my other favorite rides. This is a really short one. I do a series on this on the YouTube channel, Ian Stewart Cycles, where I just do neighborhood loops. And the great thing about neighborhood loops in suburbia is I could go out and pick which neighborhood I want to do, which dumb subdivision, and know, like, if I go to this way and that way, I could be home if I get a call, or if I need to, if I'm done or something, I could just keep stretching out farther and farther through my neighborhood. So I'm not going to say like what neighborhoods, but it's just great to be able to go, I'm going to go this neighborhood and that neighborhood, and just, figuring out where to go. So that's one of them. And then another one from my house is Winterfield Road, which is off Midlothian Turnpike, kind of in the town of Midlothian, the little village of Midlothian, they call it. And it's where Kroger is. It's where Triple Cross opened up a while ago and all this new construction. But if you go down Winterfield, the way I like to go, it'll take you all the way to Robius. And it's windy and pretty houses, and it's a great descent. And, for depending on when you go, the most people are nice. It's through Salisbury, which is the swanky area of Chesterfield. And it's great. And you go by Tarrington, and when you come down to Robius, you can either turn left and go to the 288, which does have a bike lane, and that goes into Powhatan. And you could go past that to another road that I forgot the name of, but it's kind of sketchy getting to this part. I did a triathlon out there once. Or you could go right and take Robius all the way back to Huguenot, loop back. Or what a lot of people do is do Old Gun Road, which then goes into River Road. So if you take Old Gun, it's a beautiful up and down, windy ride. Just an amazing area to ride, but you have to be really careful because it's windy and cars kind of go fast. And even though the residents know about bikes, uh-oh,
So,
uh-oh, and
yep, something's going on.
yeah, but it's a great place to ride. Even when I do that ride down to Winterfield, I'll stop at Robius Landing, one of my favorite parks in the county, and have my snack there. There's a bathroom there, and you can just look at the James River, and it's a beautiful spot. So yeah, Old Gun Road is my top one, which I haven't done in a while. I know that the county doesn't like people going out there. They want to fix it and make it safer for both drivers and residents. But yeah, those are some of my favorites. But yeah, look up, Winterfield and Old Gun. You could keep going into the city, which I've done many times. There's some really gnarly kind of short, sharp climbs going
Yeah.
that way before you hit Huguenot.
Yeah.
And you can go to Perk. You can go to Perk and get a cappuccino and a lovely biscuit on that if you want to loop back.
What's
there
your
you go.
Chesterfield list?
Yeah.
So that's what you've just mentioned is on my list. So, but I do want to point out that we soon have a future fall line trail that will make Chesterfield a much more accessible, welcoming, and connected place to go if you're on a bike. So we've got a few years before that happens, but just the fact that it's in the works and some of it's been funded, some of it's, I think, in design, we'll have a nice connection there. So I definitely want to give that a little shout just in case people don't realize just how far that thing's going to go.
43 miles from Petersburg to the town of Ashland, or the town of Ashland to Petersburg, depending on which way you want to go.
Yeah, it depends on where you live or where you park your car. Maybe you start in the middle and try to do the whole thing. Start in Richmond, go all the way north, go all the way south, and back to Richmond. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll
that's
start at my house.
6 miles.
I'll start at my house and go hit it and decide maybe I'll go to Petersburg today, and
It's a
then
century.
yeah, or maybe go the other way. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
But one of the things I am impressed with, this is not really for speed riding, but in Chesterfield, Brandermill and Woodlake have done a really good job having separated paths off. They're just recreational.
Exactly. I was gonna. They are.
But the fact that neighborhood, I don't know when they started to do it. I know the neighborhoods were built maybe late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
All the neighborhoods are sort of connected to the pool and to the area that's got the little beach. I can't remember the name
Right.
of it.
It's where the boathouse restaurant is. It's where a park
Boathouse.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they've done a really good job there. So while it's not a place I would go ride necessarily, I do think it's a good amenity to have in Chesterfield if you just want to get outside and ride your bike.
I will say too, in parts of Brandermill, on rides that I've done through on Charter Colony to Genedo, where you turn right and go towards Swift Creek, they do have a watch for bike signs. And I've done it when I ride that to get to Swift Creek and then eventually Woolridge. I do it on days where it's like the weekend. It's early enough that hopefully there's not a lot of cars, but it's a little tight in some spots. But I just I go as fast as I can and try to let people. I wait for traffic. I'll pull over. I don't care. But they do have like a watch for cyclists. I'm like, that's great. My biggest pet peeve with that area is I love that they have all the walking trails. That's fantastic for people. I know that's a draw. And I know that people who live there could get their canoes, which I've borrowed from friends to canoe. I would love to do that. I just wish they would have an open trail around Swift Creek, and especially again on Woolridge that goes over the water, to have a multi-use path to go back and forth. And I know they're in the process of building either townhomes and a restaurant or something around there. But man, I hope they put in some bike lanes, because when you're on Woolridge and Geneta right there, I know you can kind of get to a bike lane, and there's a new Roundtree or Roundfray or some other big multi subdivision swanky house stuff that they've put in some bike lanes, and they're building more housing there. And I'm just, please put in bike lanes, because yeah,
That'd be nice.
yeah.
But I got 3 more on my list real quick, and one is Rockwood. It's more a recreational area, but it's got a lot of terrain. So Rockwood Park is a good place to just get out and be out in nature. And then Old Gun is one of my favorites as well. So Cherokee from the city Old Gun, Robius, Winterfield, and then
These are all like
Salisbury.
hiking. These are all
Yeah.
kind of hiking-ish to
What's that?
me. Like Rockwood, I've videotaped.
Rockwood.
Yeah, Rockwood. I mean, it's great hiking trails. If people are watching this on the YouTube channel, you can see me hike at Rockwood for a few mental health
Yeah.
hikes, and Robius Landing. I did my 1,000th walk there. I go there all the time. I've done sprint triathlons there. So you can't bike on those trails. You could bike to Robius Landing, but you
Not even the
can't
paved stuff?
on Robius Landing is all
Not
dirt.
Robius Landing.
Okay, but Rockwood, yeah, you can, but it's really hilly, and there's people walking, and the good thing about Rockwood though is that they did put in, so they have, it's a circular thing where they have baseball fields kind of in the middle areas, and then they have the dog park, and they have access to all the trails that you could do in different hiking trails. They cut the 2-lane down to one and made it a one-way, and put a bike and walk lane around for people. And then they recently
didn't know
painted
they
it.
did that.
Yeah. And they recently painted it, which is fantastic for people. And, the griping that I saw next door and other stuff like, oh, you can't. I mean, they had speed bumps in, and then because of the bike lane that they put in, I think they took out the speed bumps, or they made them less bumpy for the
Right.
liners. But yeah, it's,
I've ridden there a few times on a cyclocross bike, just around the paved trails. Not really so much the mountain bike trails there.
yeah, because
but
you're not allowed to mountain bike on them. I think they're just strictly
Oh, I
walking.
didn't know that, but I'd never taken the mountain bike there. But yeah, it's a good. The terrain is interesting because it's very hilly. It's a lot of short, little steep hills. So I've had a few rides out there, taking the kids to do something else, and then I've gone off and just done a short little thing. So
Yeah, I mean, on one of my neighborhood loop rides, which I'll go through part of my Redbridge and down Providence, which is a beautiful ride on a Sunday when there's hardly any cars, over to Bexley, fancy Bexley, and cut through that neighborhood. And I come out on Hull Street near La Prade Library, and then I cut through behind Hull. There's a Sheets, and there's like a street that goes through there. But I'll then eventually get to Rockwood and go through there. And I've done that the first time I did it with a friend of mine. He's like, let's go on the trail. And I'm like, okay, but the trail's literally, the paved ones are up and down, and you feel bad because you're like, get out, I'm sorry, get out of my, so I don't recommend riding that unless you are riding just on the loop around the parking lot,
gotcha.
because it's,
Well,
yeah.
like I said, I've only been there a couple of times, and I thought it was an interesting place to be. But
What we didn't mention is
it was
Poca.
also very cold when I was there, and so there weren't many people.
Yeah. If you like the mechanics of transportation and want to support our efforts, then please consider subscribing to it by clicking the link in the show notes. You could also help support us by sharing this podcast on all of your social medias and rating it and leaving a comment in the show notes. Tell all your friends, post it on Reddit, even though Reddit, doesn't like when people do that. If you do subscribe, we'll try to thank you at the end of each episode. You could also send me a tip via Venmo at Ian-Stewart-82. And if you're a sponsor who'd like to sponsor this show, maybe you're a bike store, maybe, let us know. We didn't mention Pocahantas, by the
That
way.
was
The
my
state
number
park.
one.
Damn it! I did it again. I thought you were done. I thought you already had your number one.
No, that was my number one was Pocahontas.
Well, there you go.
For many, many reasons. It has a lot to offer.
Yeah.
Mostly mountain bike, some gravel. Ride my cyclocross bike there a little bit, and there's a few areas where maybe you could even do a BMX bike. So yeah, and it's got a great kids loop, and it's progressive, so you can just keep working your kids up to the next thing.
That's what we did. We took my family there when we were doing a lot of riding. Did the kids loop before they started installing a whole bunch of other ones. We did a couple where we could go and then hop off really quick because if you stay on it, it could go pretty fast. And I've done it on my Gary Fisher a few of the trails, but I'm like, I'll stick to the fire roads because I have the bars on my Fisher that come out because I was doing long distance riding on it. And some of these single tracks, I'm like, I'm going to loop a tree.
Yeah. There's some tight stuff there too.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to. I've shot you, not shot you down, but I've ruined your surprise twice now.
Hey, we didn't discuss our numbers. we didn't coordinate anything. This is unscripted, uncoordinated, really off the cuff here today.
Yeah. Well, that
As
will lead
always.
us into the worst places to ride, and mine are really super simple and easy, and in Chesterfield, Whole Street, Midlothian Turnpike, which I have gone on sections of Midlothian Turnpike to go from Walton Park and Midlothian Mines down Midlothian Turnpike for a quick second into another neighborhood, you know, and then Iron Bridge, which I've done parts of. I know there's a bike lane on Iron Bridge, but the Iron Bridge I'm talking about goes where the 288 exits and on ramps are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
Iron Bridge is, I mean, it's 55 through some of those sections, isn't it?
yeah, and
It's,
they are working on that. They had a survey out where they're past the 288 towards the city. They're working on putting in a lot more pedestrian and bike friendly infrastructure.
okay, good. Yeah, that area, I mean, Chesterfield has got some very big areas that are, your courthouse and Huguenot, or courthouse Huguenot at Midlothian, and where the bike lane ends on Courthouse, and there's just nowhere for you to go from there. And
Yep.
the Courthouse, when you get to Route 10, there's no bike lane that connects Route 10 to Pocahantas until you get past 288. Maybe I can't remember how. That's a good 4 miles, 3 miles maybe. So yeah, there could be a little bit better connectivity. I know part of it just comes down to the width of right of way and what they can put down.
Years ago, I was looking at their bike plan, and I could have sworn that they were either the fall line might go to Pocahontas or they're trying to connect. I know in the future they might connect it because I'll take Courthouse to Pocahontas a lot of times. And once I go past the jails and the Confederate flag that is there to the great new parking lot, I'll go in there and maybe ride, or I'll keep going. That's when I go to Iron Bridge and I loop around and go through the industrial. It's kind of my light industrial ride
Yeah.
because I'll go by the airport and then kind of come back and, you know.
You
But
can
that's-
shorten that just a little bit if you go down Newby's Bridge Road by the Orange Market. There's another trail entrance.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
where I hike. That's where I hike in.
Yeah, and so I mean you can do that. It adds like a mile and a half of gravel road and a little bit of trail, but it is a
will-
good way to get in.
I will tell you though, don't do Newby's Bridge at all because for a while I would go down Courthouse and onto what street is that? There's a street that connects to Newby's Bridge off Courthouse. So before you hit 288, and I'm like, let me try this, and I went down it, and part of it's fine, and then I got to Newby's Bridge at the start where it intersects and rode that a couple times, but it's so tight. Even for me, where I'm sometimes that doesn't bother me too much,
Yeah.
but I'm like, man, no, I can't. Really wanted to because it's really nice, but it hugs Pocahontas State Park, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe Qualla.
yeah, it's Qualla. Yeah, it's Qualla. That's it. People are hopefully shouting at us like, you dumbass, don't know the names. Yeah, it's Qualla to Newby's Bridge. And I did that a couple of times. And the last time I did it, I was like,
Yeah.
no, cars just zoom around. There's like a really tight hill and corner that,
Yep.
yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have, what's left? We have, because we're on time again, so we have pet peeves.
My only pet peeve is people parking in the bike lanes and then people putting their trash cans, leaves. You name it, somebody's putting stuff out there on, not because they have nowhere else to put it, but just because they don't care, they don't realize. So I think we still have some education to do. I hope the city, especially as we get more and more bike lanes, more and more infrastructure, I'd like to see the city and now the counties doing a little bit more of educating people where they need to park. What goes in the bike lane is bikes and people walking.
Yeah.
And I also run into a fair number of people running and walking in the same direction as bikes in the bike lanes, which sometimes headphones, whatever, and you're navigating. If you're on a bike, it's not easy to get up on the sidewalk. If
Right.
you're on foot, you can. And so I think that again is one of those just you see the arrows and you don't really realize that maybe you should treat it as the same as traffic.
I get it. It's like it could be a controversy because if you're running, and I used to run all the time. If you're on a wonky sidewalk where it's all chips and stuff, you're like, I need something flat.
Yeah.
But again, you're in the bike lane, and yeah. Anyways,
It's not a problem if they're running towards you and then they see you and they can move. You can make eye contact, but it's when they're going away from you, and like I said, most runners, I say most, a lot of runners have headphones or AirPods, whatever, these days. And, it is something that we all need to look out for each other. And at the same time, there's an easy solution, and that is run towards traffic just like you would on a road. And the multi-use trails, we have slightly different rules, so maybe that's causes some of the confusion. But anyway, it just comes down to education.
There you go. Yeah, more educating in general on sharing the road with multiple people. My pet peeves: coal rolling, which I already mentioned, tinted windows. I hate tinted windows on cars because I can't see you. I get if you're on the back seat, tinted windows in the back window. But if I can't see you through your front window or your driver's side window, then that sucks, and that's not good for pedestrians or bikes.
Where somebody's looking, whether they can see you or not. Or,
And you can't get mad at me if I stop and look at you and kind of wave, like I can't see you. I don't know what you're doing if you're on your phone, which is the other one. Distracted drivers on their phone, and then because that's a whole thing, and then cyclists who don't wave back.
I wave at everybody. Like, I wave at every runner, every kid, guy like raking his leaves in his yard.
Yeah.
And I wave at people who pass me with a good distance. People I've held up for a minute or two. If somebody gives me the full lane and waits for a second, I wave at everybody that gives me space.
Just a nod even. Like, I wave, like there's people that are going the other way and we'll kind of nod and I'll do and I get it. If you're going down a hill, I don't expect you to take your hands off the hood and like wave or whatever, but like a nod or wave, say hi, we're out here enjoying, we're on bikes.
Yeah, we're all in this together. Doesn't matter what you're on.
Yeah. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed our top 5 things of bike lanes and worst and places to ride. Let us know what yours are in the comments. You could also share the show, like it, subscribe to it, Venmo me money, Ian-Stewart-82, or buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Ian Stewart. And, but yeah, let us know. I'd be interested to hear what people's thoughts are. You could let us know somehow when we post this on our social media. You could comment there. And what other shows do you guys want to hear? If you want to hear something, leave a note in the comments. Is that how professional I sound?
That was very as professional as this podcast gets.
Yeah, man. Two bald guys with their beards talking about bikes. That's our new name. All right, well, everyone be safe. Sean, be safe, and we'll see what happens with the weather this coming weekend, or maybe when this comes out. This may come out actually after that, so, oh man, what a weekend.
Yeah, well, and we do have cyclocross world championships, so since we can't go out and ride our bikes really in the city, it's going to be a good time to sit down and watch some bike races.
Yeah, Mallorca is on, or was on, and the Lula, Jacob Alula, Lula Tour or whatever.
Jacob.
There you go. All right, well, we'll see you next time, and thanks for streaming on in. You've been nerding out about the RVA bike scene. Be sure to like and subscribe and share the show and tip your server if you can. On Venmo, I'm at Ian-Stewart-82. Be sure to check out my other podcast called History Reinvented. And if you like music, check out Ian's World of Music show on Mixcloud. For years and years, I was the World Music Show host on the public radio station in town. So check it out, because I know what I'm doing. And you could also look for my freelance work on outlets like the Virginia Mercury, the Richmonder, Richmond Magazine, and on the podcast Full Disclosure with Robin Farzad. The Mechanics of Transportation is a Big Soap production. See you next week. Thanks for tagging along.